Divine Nugget. A bite-sized chunk of information that may just change your life. You never know. What I want to talk about now is the importance of starting now. And if you get a chance to catch the last nugget that I did, which was about believing that you are legendary, it could go very well with this one. Now, what I'm thinking about is that success in whatever form that may matter to you, whether it's a successful relationship, a successful business, buying a house, anything. Anything that you want to achieve, like success would be getting that thing or doing that thing or being that person, whatever it is. Most of the time, it takes longer than we imagine it will, but if we're persistent at it, it actually happens a lot faster than we think it will too. And part of the problem is one, we really, it's funny, as humans, we put a lot of focus on time, and yet we really don't hold the concept very well. Because a year, when you're looking at it in front of you, can seem like a very long time, as can 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 years. But when you're looking back on it, it went quite fast, you know? A week can seem like a long time until you're at the end of the week and going, damn, I didn't have enough time, you know? And because we live relatively long, I mean, like there's it's pretty common nowadays even to get to live to 100 and not even be all that decrepit, like be healthy, be doing things. There are people that still work until they're like 98, you know, or go jogging every day till they're 101. Like there's pretty amazing things. And so if you take that, like let's say that you take pretty good care of yourself, you might live to 100 years old and still be doing pretty darn good until, like, let's say 90. So if you take 10 years out of 90 years, that's not that much time. And when you're 90 years old, you're going to be looking back at that and it might feel like it was like 5 years of your life. Or not five, it might feel, it was like 10 years, if you're like 90 or you're 100, that might feel like a year of your life. You know, like it all blends together. And especially because a lot of us, we don't do as much as we feel like we do on a daily basis, especially when we're spending a lot of our time doing what we're culturally conditioned to do, which is like work, chores, sleep, poop, take care of yourself. Like, it's not wasted time, but if that's the stuff that you're doing on a regular basis, you're not really doing much of anything else. And if you have kids, that takes a sizable chunk out of your life in terms of, I mean, it's a good one, and you get lots of valuable rewards from it. But just realistically, then you have to add in not just taking care of yourself and doing your regular stuff. You have to add in all of the chores and necessities that go along with taking care of kids and raising other human beings. So, like, if you decide, when you decide that you want to be successful at something like a YouTube business or getting a degree or starting a garden, like how much time you put into that. Like we might think, oh, okay, so the average time it takes to get a business going and have it be successful is like 8 months, 8 to 12 months, right? And that might seem really daunting. Like, oh my gosh, it'll take me that long. How am I going to have the money to put into the time of doing this? When realistically, you're not even if you had all the money and the time and the space, that stuff's, you're really only probably going to put in about an hour a week into doing that. And a lot of the reason for that isn't because it's not doable faster. There's plenty of people who have kick-started businesses in 30 days and become millionaires in a year. Though they really, like, they had hyper focus. They really put their time in that. And the bigger thing is they didn't have a lot of blocks in their belief systems to being able to do that. They just got it going and rode the momentum. So you can totally do it faster. Though most of us, if given all the time and energy and money to be able to do that stuff, what really stops us is the emotional stuff. What did you grow up with? What's, how were you talked to? Are, you are who you hang out with most of the time too. So are the people around you successful? Where are you hanging out? What bars do you go to? What things do you do with your time? How do you talk to yourself? Like, that's all the stuff that you got to change. If you had all of that, if you had all those ducks in a line, yeah, you could easily start a business in less than a month and be very, very successful within a year. Maybe even sooner, like 6 months. You want it, you can have it if you can believe in it. Now, for most of us, we actually like the contrast and the time that it takes to build things. And then you can really look back at each milestone of things that you've done to succeed. But you don't usually realize how you really appreciated being able to marinate in and savor the journey until after you've gotten a fair amount into the journey. And the other part of us, yeah, we got a lot of emotional stuff to work through. And if you got kids or a relationship or neurodivergences or attachment traumas, you got other things that you need to work out along the way, and that's part of why it's so important to start now, especially if you're in a space of, well, other people are telling me it's not possible or not doable, or like they're not the right person, or when will I have time to ride a yacht, or it's unsafe to be on a motorcycle, or so many other things. If you're in a space of listening to them or saying, like, you know what, I like staying inside all the time, or I get overwhelmed when I'm around people, or I get scared when I'm on stage. Like, if you're in that space, start now. Like, really, because you're thinking of it as, like, let's say that you would like to be a public speaker. You feel like you have a lot of things to say, but you're afraid of being on the stage, of screwing it up, of throwing up all over yourself, whatever it is. Most people, when they think about, this is where I am and this is what I want, they think about just jumping right to the end. But it's not going to happen. What you're going to start with is, working on the anxiety, working on your self-image, working on how you want to look and how you want to feel and things like that. So starting now isn't jumping onto the stage and talking, or say you want to be a comedian. It's not jumping from, here I am, I don't do anything, but I have some funny jokes, to jumping on the stage and then bombing out. Like, no, you're going to start learning how to write your jokes. Then you're going to start learning about entertaining on a stage, and being pithier, and segueing into proper punchlines and telling stories, and not how to tell original jokes, or how to tell a story that you have that seems like somebody else's story, and make it clear that you didn't steal anybody else's material. And then you're going to have to find clubs that actually have open spots for you to speak in, and then you got to learn about the journey of it. And you're going to have some failures in there, but they're going to help you get ready to have successes. And then by the time you have successes, even if that anxiety is still there, it's not going to bother you as much, because you've made it through all of the other stuff. You've faced yourself, you've done your shadow work, you've mapped out the process, you know what is next, and you know what came before, and you can measurably see what you've done and where you're going and things like that. So when I say start now, I don't mean like immediately jump out on stage. I don't mean write down your business name and then go get all the taxes and the licensing and everything like that and do it right now. I mean, start right now. Write down your vision. Write down your goal. Where is it that you would like to be in a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years? Start now in terms of planning it out, seeing yourself doing it. Start now on recognizing that time goes by way faster than you think. Start now on working out the little steps that it takes to do each thing. Start now on sharing your vision with people who can hold good space for it. People who can partially humor you, and people who actually believe that you can do it. And start now on learning about how other people did it. Start now on doing your research about people your age who succeeded in ways that either nobody expected, or that ways that people expected it. Maybe they were expected to be successful and they went through a bunch of failures first, you know. Look for people who have a shared experience. Maybe they were alcoholics or drug addicts for a really long time, and somehow they cleaned themselves up and became, you know, they glue up. It's funny, glowed up, glue up. I'm not sure what the proper way to say that is, but they had incredible transformations. And usually it started with one day with an inspired action and thought, and they just wrote it. And it's something about it just clicked. They didn't want to live the life that they were living before, and so they got started. But even if you want to jump from A to Z right away, there's usually obstacles in the way. And it's actually those things that stop most people from succeeding. It's not actually it's not actually the thing that they were afraid of. By the time you get on the stage, by the time you buy the house, by the time you propose, by the time you do the thing that you wanted to do, if you started with small steps, like right now, by the time you get there, none of the things that you worry that are going to get in your way by that time are actually going to do it. And you're going to find, the not quite obstacles, but they're challenges along the way that prepare you for it. And that's the stuff that usually gets people is like, what? It's going to take a year to start a business and then probably another year before it's really successful and I can see money out of it, or what? It could take 5 years to train to apprentice in a shop, mostly cleaning toilets and taking phone calls. What? You mean it's going to take 5 years to be able to save enough money and get my credit in a good place to buy a house? Like, if we're looking at it that way, then the challenges that come in the middle, like buying a house, you might think, oh, just call up a broker and talk to them and they'll help me. But what if you don't get along with that broker? A lot of people, if that happens, they take that experience and they go, I'll never do it again. Or with relationships, you have one really big relationship that's really, really bad, rather than people going, oh, you know what? I need to get better with my boundaries. I need to have better self-worth. I need to work on my stuff, and I need to vet my partners a little bit more so that I can have a successful, happy relationship that is what I consented to when I got into it in the first place. We don't look at it that way. We just go, I'll just never love again. I'll never do it again because it was so horrible. Or say you have two or three relationships that don't go well, and then it goes from I picked bad partners to I'm just bad luck in relationships, or whatever thing, when really it's a matter of, like, what are you working on with you? You want to have a better business, you want to have a promotion, you want to have a yacht, you want to be a famous comedian, whatever it is. You want to get married and have a successful, long-lasting marriage, or for twin flames and union, start now. You want to get over your fear of crowds or dancing or going on long trips, things like that, start now. Because it's going to be a lot of little steps first. As I always told my DM and now many others, small steps are still steps. And the more small steps that you take, the sooner they're going to turn into little steps, or they're going to be medium steps, big steps, adult steps, giant steps, right? Then they're going to start to add up. Just in the same way that when we allow people to disrespect us in small ways, and it continues, violating the boundaries, assuming silence is consent, things like that, and we placate them, all that stuff adds up. Like, then you've trained somebody that it's okay to treat you that way, and you've trained yourself, like you've gaslit yourself into that being okay. So it works the same way in the other way around. So getting healthy, setting healthy boundaries for yourself, having healthy rules about how other people can or cannot treat you, not placating, not being codependent. It's a lot of little steps first. And oftentimes we get bound up because we will, especially with starting a business, or losing weight, or getting back to a healthy position, or having better mental health, we get bound up because we'll take, like, say 20 little steps and we'll see a little bit of results, but then we fall back into old patterns or old routines, and then we punish ourselves because we didn't stay in that consistent space. This is part of why it's important to start now, because that's actually a part of the process. It's natural. I mean, we're humans. What was it, the quote one time? It's almost impossible to actually stay in the same emotional energy for more than about 30 seconds. If you're really focused on it, maybe 3 minutes. But most of the time we go in and out of things. Even depression is actually usually a mixture between sadness, anger, disgust, and shame. Like we cycle in and out of those things. We don't just stay in sadness. We go in and out of all these things that keep this cycle going. It works the same way, getting towards um, to where you're cycling between gratitude, delight, pride, healthy pride, and love, like unconditional love for yourself and for others. Like it's not impossible, but it takes a little while to go from being a aggressive reactive person for most of your life into being a kind, consistent, calm, responsive person. It takes a little time. And when we get to that space to where we've done it really well for, like, say, a month, and then we drop for a week, then we beat ourselves up, and then it takes another week, we come back out and we do it again for another month. It really makes a difference if we remember that those things are going to happen. If we know that ahead of time, hence why I'm doing divine nuggets like this, so that more people can normalize that. You're going to, the part of the reason it takes time, and one of the biggest reasons to start now, is because you're not looking to make one gigantic leap from where you are to where you want to be. You're going to start now in terms of taking little steps. Put that vision board together. Start journaling every day. It's something as simple as, maybe you want to have more dreams, or you want to remember your dreams. So start by having a pen and pad of paper by your bed when you sleep. You want to be a more honest person. Start by telling yourself the truth. Start by journaling it down. Start by confessing a small, easy truth to somebody you know who can hold space for it, that isn't even that big of a deal. You want to be a more courageous person. Start by putting yourself in a little bit more, courageous situations. I mean, it could be as simple as, if you want to be more courageous with people around you, maybe start with other things that really don't have much to do with people, but take a little bravery. Maybe you don't like heights, but you could get on a stool to change a light bulb, and that could take a little bit of bravery from you. Maybe you don't want to kill spiders anymore, but you're afraid of them, so you start practicing getting cups ready to catch them and put them out. You have stuff around, and when you go outside, first you just throw the cup in the yard. That's how I started. You just throw it in the yard. You don't even bother with it until a few days later, and then you go pick it up again later. And then before you know it, you're not really that afraid of them. You can just put them in a cup and just toss them out the door. You're doing something different. But it takes those small steps, and the first very small step is just getting started. And sometimes that can be as simple as getting past your excuses. You want to have more friends. You want to have people who support you on your journey, who tell you you can do it rather than you can't do it. You want to be able to meet your twin flame or soulmate or a famous person. First, you got to get past your own excuses, your ego's, like, no, you can't do that, or no, remember how many times you screwed up, or that other person tried that thing and didn't work out very well for them, or there is that person that I know personally that's done great things, but she's different, and she's got something that nobody else has. Like, you got to get past those things. And that starts with telling yourself, yes, I can. Instead of looking for reasons to stay stuck or to not have to try, look for reasons to try. Look for reasons to start now. And when you start now, a year from now, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I accomplished a lot because I started at that point. And because I started, even if I'm not light years ahead of where I wanted to be, look how far ahead I am. I mean, just think about how much a human baby accomplishes within the first year of life. I mean, we go from these little squishy, wet things that can't do hardly nothing for ourselves except scream and mostly eat. But even at that, sometimes we have problems eating, like breastfeeding or things like that. But within a year, most babies are able to roll over and crawl. Some of them are already walking. Some of them have teeth in already, and we have to learn to hold our heads up, all this stuff. Now that's a biological thing that's set in there, but we're able to do that at any point in time. And if you think about how fast 1 year, your first year of life goes, imagine that being the year ahead from now. Like you go in, you mark down this day, what is it, March 24th, 2021, and then next year, 2022, March 24th, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I have 1,000 videos on YouTube, or I've written 500 articles, or I have a wonderful circle of four great friends that I didn't have before, or look at me, I've managed to make up for a whole bunch of ways that I screwed up in my life before, and now I have a clean slate and I can do anything with that. And now I have support, or now I have the credit, now I have the money saved. Really reframe the way that you look at how long it takes to succeed and what it is you're imagining doing. Like if you're thinking about going from, the comedian thing, like going from just as you are, not having ever been on a stage or written an actual joke, to being on some gigantic stage with a huge crowd where you're wowing them. No, you're going to start with the first steps, which is what excuses do you have in your head, and then just keep going from there. Learn about what others did, follow what they did, and then make it your own. And as you start to get through that stuff, by the end of a year, you're going to be amazed at how much you accomplished. You really will be. And then when you have people telling you that you're glowing and look at all you've done and they're so impressed, they didn't think that they could do it, you can tell them similar things like, you know what? It happened because I started now. Even though it was a year ago, that's what you'll say. It's because I started now. Because I stopped looking at success in getting or being or doing whatever thing that I wanted as this immediate thing that I had to have all these resources and skills to have right away, and started realizing if I start telling myself nice things every day, if I start with just one thing every day that I like about myself, that I'm grateful for, then by the end of 6 months, I've already got 10 things every day, and it's a regular practice. And I can tell myself that when I'm stressed, and it turns things around. And people are telling me how grounded and stable I feel, like little steps matter. They really do. They add up. The same thing, bad habits add up. Allowing people to tell you you can't do it, who you surround yourself with, all these little things make the big things. So start now on whatever it is, that goal that you want, that dream you have, the thing you want to be. Start now, because it's going to be a lot of little stuff first, and that's perfect. And when you can look back and look at how those little things added up, how you changed your life, that will bring the momentum that will get you to that big stuff that you're really like, wow, I can look back and see, yeah, okay, I fell a few times, or I dropped into icky cycles a few times, or I didn't always hold to what I wanted to do, or my goal may have been a little bit off timing, but I made it. I didn't give up, and look where I am now. That's why start now. And remember that small steps are still steps, and they will add up a lot faster than you think. All right, I'm going to leave this nugget here, and I will catch you in the next video.